Nicole said this to me yesterday as we were driving and we were listening to the radio. And it blew my mind. And I want to make sure I'm not like, I want to see just how everybody else reacts. She said Jessica Simpson more talented than Taylor Swift.
See, that's a tough one. Are we talking in like full scope of work? Because Jessica Simpson has been in movies and everything, and Taylor Swift, I think, has only made like
we're talking music. Nicole says if Taylor Swift didn't look the part, like she never would have blown up. And I countered with, well, you could say the same about Jessica Simpson.
It's even more so. She's just a pretty face.
Right.
She's just that.
It also has to do with the timing of things. So at the time it was, you had your three, right? At the time it was Britney, Christina, and then you had Jessica Simpson.
Yep.
A very trailing third, but a third. But that was just the thing. Everybody at the time wanted a skinny blonde. And that was just the 90s. 2000s, and then you get to Taylor Swift. If you put them in different eras, I don't think they do as well at all. If you were to flip-flop the eras that Jessica Simpson was around versus Taylor Swift, I think they both bomb.
See, and making that point, I don't know. I think Taylor Swift going back turns into like Jewel, and Jessica Simpson coming to this time would be like, I don't know, Bebe Rexha or something like that.
So that's one of the funniest things. It was the roast of Rob Lowe.
Okay.
And I forgot who made the joke. I think it was Nikki Glazer. Jewel, so nice to see you. Or as we call you, Trailer Swift.
Nice.
So the fact that you brought that up, I'm like, oh, it's so good. So good.
I love those jokes. I love that style of joke. It's so great.
Yeah. And I mean, I've never been a Jessica Simpson fan. I've never been a Taylor Swift fan. They both get hit by a truck, so be it. I broke them already.
That was like the best thing I've heard all day. Taylor Swift.
I love it. I love it.
What was the other one? There was a joke about the Spice Girls. Nikki Glaser was like, Jewel, I don't want to badmouth you because apparently God already did. Your teeth are kind of like the Spice Girls. They're all different colors and they're kind of doing their own thing. Broke Collins before we even started. Yes.
And welcome to the Flag Stays Down podcast.
Yeah, seriously. Samina Edward Mende Samina Sam Sedate. He comes from Senegal.
And I think going out and get Saul was the top transfer of the market for Chelsea.
Chesney could have been in the shower smoking a cigarette like he was at Arsenal, and we still would not have scored.
My rants have been fueled by Scott. Don't get it twisted.
Big Rom. Man, fuck you.
In Roman we trust, right?
You and me are going to have a battle royale about Jorginho and diving.
The flag stays down!
Welcome to the Flag Stays Down podcast. Make sure to subscribe, rate, and review on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your podcasts. On tonight's episode, we got another full house. We're on a run here, boys. I got me, Andy. You can find me at Comiskey North. And you've got a guy who's the king of chaos, Matt, at Matus Lee. And we've also got the true GOAT, not just somebody from Argentina, Parker. at DJ Parkour. Parker, how you doing?
Thank you for that. I'll take that compliment. Thank you very much, Collins. No, man, it's all good. Today was a great day. I made it out to my favorite pinball bar and got to compete in the tournament. See some old friends who I haven't seen in a while. Don't get out there as much as I want to with crazy work schedule and traveling as much as I do now. So it felt like all was right in the world. You got to go there, hang out for a few hours, and then I get to come home and I get to hang out with the boys. So it's always a fun day too when soccer's on, and we had a cracker of a World Cup final. So we'll talk about that later. It's just a overall pretty great Sunday. So happy to be here. Matthew?
Yeah, good weekend. One of my wife's friends came down yesterday for a wedding that we had in Janesville. So went to that. Luckily for me, open bar because I didn't know anybody there. So, always a benefit. Just some of their friends and from the old Oshkosh days. But yeah, so it was a good time, and then home by 10:30. So I was pretty happy about that. But yeah, it was a good weekend, and today we were just kind of hanging out. Obviously I was watching the final, helping my wife with some dinner and kind of making some meals for the week, and then threw on a couple episodes of Yellowstone. So can't really go wrong with that. And then of course cap it off with the boys. So can't complain too much. Collins, I know you had a kind of jam-packed at least day today. I don't know about the whole weekend.
Yeah, it's Christmas season in the Collins household. Had Christmas number 1 of 7 over the next 10 days. So that was fun. Got a nice little bottle of whiskey from mother-in-law. So that was always a plus. But hey, it was, probably one of the best World Cup finals I've ever watched earlier in the morning. And I got my wife to watch Welcome to Wrexham. So overall, pretty successful day, pretty successful weekend. Let's see. We are on episode number 19 here, and before we get into the episode, let's talk about that number 19 and a player who wore it as we cheers our Mob Craft beer. So number 19, we've got a couple options here. Let me throw them at you. You got the current holder, Mason Mount. Tammy Abraham wore it for a year. Diego Costa, Demba Ba, Paulo Ferreira, and Matt, you and I met the last one in person, Torre Andre Flo. So, boys, who are we going with?
Parks, I'll let you take that one first.
And I'm gonna punt to Collins because you never go first on this topic.
Amend. Nice.
I love the majority of the people on this list. Like Tammy, I can do without, but I understand, the role he played in the club. Paulo Ferreira was good, but I never really, he wasn't really my cup of tea. Torre Andre Flo was a great dude when we met him in Milwaukee, now about a year ago. So it leaves Mount, Costa, and Demba Ba. Demba Ba embarrassed the fuck out of Steven Gerrard.
Oh, and Gerrard slipped, and Demba Ba's in here. Out comes Mignolet, but Ba punishes of all people Steven Gerrard. It's a terrific moment for Chelsea, but an awful one for the Liverpool skipper.
Forever the GOAT, Demba Ba. That's my pick.
That moment has a song about it, right? The Steven Gerrard slip, and it was Ba who capitalized on it. My heart tells me Diego Costa. I've always been a fan of him, and similar to you, Collins, when you get your wife to watch in on something, it means a little bit more. Carolyn doesn't always watch Chelsea with me, but when she does, she's got a few favorites, and Diego Costa is her favorite Chelsea player of all time. Just the way he played, his style, getting his shirt torn and scoring goals and letting people hear about it. So Costa's always been her favorite, and you kind of gravitate towards that when your wife cheers for something like that. But I agree that Demba Ba has that moment that will always kind of live on. So I'll second your pick there.
It's hard to go against Diego. It's so tough. We are obviously a very a collective big fan of his body of work with Chelsea. But at the same time, the fact that Stevie G slipped on his ass and Demba Ba scored to ensure that Liverpool didn't win the league that year, it just really warms your heart. You gotta love it. But I will go with Diego Costa, who is, our boy and everything like that. But, hashtag never forget Demba Ba and Stevie G. Like, that is something that will live on forever.
All right. Well, I'll amend the rule here. I want to cheers to both. I like both Diego Costa and Demba Ba. So tonight we are going to be cheersing from our Mobcraft Advent calendar, and we'll give you more information on that after a nice little drink. Cheers, boys.
Cheers.
All right. So as I said, we are on day number 18 of our Mobcraft Advent calendars, and we're sipping on Glad to Meet You. My name is English Mild. Parker, what do you think?
No, this is really good. And dude, this Advent calendar is sweet. It's just like it's like Christmas every day, and it's just fun to open it up and see what's going on, because there's beers that we've had a lot of and they're flagships, and then there's stuff that I've never heard of. So this was one of those, right? The Glad to Meet You. It's English style mild. It's not a beer that's gonna like rock your socks in a good way or a bad way. It's just a very drinkable, English style beer. And so I really like it. I'm also a huge fan of cans that have the feel to it, where they don't get super cold when they go in. So they don't need the gimmick of the mountains turning blue when it gets cold. It's just, you just kind of know it's cold, and it's good beer. Like it a lot.
I will say I've enjoyed all of the collaboration beers in this one so far. And this one was a collaboration with Miskatonic Brewing down in Darien, Illinois. Well done. Like you said, very, very drinkable, very, very smooth, especially for a dark. I was impressed with it. All right. Well, on tonight's pod, we're going to discuss that crazy World Cup final between Argentina and France. We'll discuss a little bit about the, kind of sum up the tournament itself, give some best, some worst players, maybe a young player or something in there. And then finally, oh boy, we got to go back to talking about Chelsea on this podcast. Chelsea are back next week, and we'll preview the second half of the season. But like I said, we'll start with that World Cup final. I've heard, or I've called it several times on this podcast, the World Cup of Chaos. This did not let us down at all.
Down deep in the French end, Di Maria just skips past Dembele, gets in front, takes the contact, says thank you very much. 100% penalty.
Opponents have made two. This is what about the first half of the first half played in the World Cup final. How many billions of eyeballs are watching these two men 12 yards apart? Messi scores! Perez on the run, Alexis McAllister, Di Maria's on the far side. Here it comes, Di Maria! And Mbappe scores. Martinez got a hand to it.
Martinez goes the right way, does get fingertips on it, but at the pace of it, takes it into the back of the net, comes back across goal.
Trying to find Mbappe now. He'll steer it back inside. Thuram! Mbappe!
Martinez with hands to it.
Martinez is going to get to that one, knocks it down for Messi. Into the middle, Fernandez. Lautaro Martinez, save Messi! Cleared away, did it cross the line? Did it cross the line? Yeah! Block, was it a hand? It was! Penalty for France!
Montiel, it's Montiel, look, it's 100% a penalty.
Now the 118th minute. Yes! Yes!
Argentina walks away winners. Messi walks away with his first World Cup. Boys, what are we making of this match today?
Still processing. There was so much that happened. So my wife and her friend who we went to the wedding with, they went out to breakfast this morning. I obviously chose my allegiance to watch the final and not go. They did bring me back something, so I was very appreciative of that. But watching that game, I don't even know where to start. There was everything that, as a neutral fan, and Collins, I know you were definitely pulling hard for France. I would say I was a neutral. I could be either or. I didn't know what was going on. My adrenaline was going through the roof. I had goosebumps. It's just everything. You see a team dominate for the first half. And when I say dominate, I mean that. Like France, and when we were talking in our group chat, I thought France looked like absolute dog shit. And granted, I know that they've had that virus that's kind of been going around with a lot of teams and some people coming back from that. So, they're probably not going to be at 100%, but it's a World Cup final, so you gotta get after it. But it's everything you want as a neutral fan. You have Messi and Mbappe, probably the two, I would say even more than Ronaldo, probably the two most talked about people at this World Cup. You have them going against each other. Messi trying to win his first one, Mbappe trying to be the guy and help France get to back-to-back, which I think has only happened 2 other times. So you have the storylines, it's written for it to happen. You have, controversy with the official going arguably both ways. And it seemed like early on it was a payoff to make sure that Messi won. And then it's like, no, we have to keep it interesting. Everything that we've talked about, especially with the officiating, it had all of that. And then you have the drama of going to extra time, Messi scoring late in extra time, then a penalty for France, and Mbappe scoring in the dying minutes of that extra time, and then had possibly another chance right before the final whistle, before it went to pens. You couldn't ask for a better final to as Collins, you put it, the World Cup of chaos. It was the perfect ending for it. And I'm very glad that I was able to witness it and just watch it every single minute, every single second. I was on the edge of my seat the entire time.
The only thing I can disagree with or add different is I wasn't on the edge of my seat for the first 65 minutes because it didn't feel like much of a game. France got bodied in the midfield, especially for the first half. And forcing 2 first half substitutions out of France, which is something you don't really think of much or you see often in a game of this caliber. I don't know if they got it wrong so much as they just didn't seem up to it. They didn't seem to meet the moment. And Argentina, gosh, it felt like they were playing 13 on 10 for fuck's sake. It was just ridiculous to see how swarming and how menacing they were when they weren't on the ball. And then when they were on the ball, it seemed like they could, pull the strings and do what they wanted. So the thought crossed my mind, in the 75th minute to walk away and turn it off. I was like, this game's over. It felt over. And I'm so happy I didn't, because man, what a finish and what a ride to get there. You see 2 goals scored, 90 some seconds apart or something like that. Pretty crazy. both teams were awarded penalties. Both teams scored goals out of open play. Argentina's goal from open play was a thing of beauty. It was about 6 perfect passes, perfectly weighted balls to execute what looked like a really easy goal, routine goal, but it was a thing of beauty in the moment to see it all pan out that way. And Mbappe meets the moment with a volley goal and a well-worked team goal from France as well. So the game had everything, including what could have been a 122nd minute winner that gets saved. And Argentina had a couple of chances to take the lead as well in the dying moments of the match. To see it go down to penalties, I mean, those guys are going to relive those moments in their head for the rest of their lives, or for at least the near future, right? It's going to be something that lives with that team and those guys for a while. If we know anything, it's hard to get back to those places. It seems like France is dominant right now, but who knows how many World Cup finals they're going to see, or Mbappe will see, or whoever, right? So you got to take the chances you get, and Messi is one of the best to ever play it, and he hasn't had many chances to do what he got to do today. So it was a wild one, boys. It was a really fun, energetic match. I'm sad to see France didn't win it. I was cheering for him the whole way. And again, we talked about this last week, but Argentina's cockiness and the way they kind of handled themselves isn't my favorite style. So I was not super happy to see them win in that style, but it made for a very entertaining, drama-filled match. So you can only be so mad about that. I mean, it was I cheer for the game, I cheer for the sport, and when I see a match like that gets my dad excited, and he's texting me things like, "Holy shit, what was that?" Like, seeing that stuff. I said that last week about colleagues and stuff. I wanted an exciting match because the people that tuned in got to see something cool, even if it was people who were tuning in for the NFL early. They tune in at 11:30 to see NFL pregame and catch the end of the World Cup final and see what we watched. I mean, it's worth it. It helps promote the game. It helps spread awareness for it, and it's a cracker, man. It's been a fun ride.
Yeah, as the noted French follower on this pod, it was a roller coaster of emotions for me. I started, cracked a beer at 9 a.m., got to watch a shitty first 60 minutes, like you said, Parker, where France didn't register a single shot, not shot on goal, not a single shot. You see France's all-time leading goal scorer subbed off in the 40th minute in Olivier Giroud. Ousmane Dembele needed to be subbed off. I'm okay with that one, but Giroud baffles me. But Didier Deschamps knew what he was doing. Kolo Muani looked fantastic up top for the French. But the issue was, as it was for the whole 120 minutes, France couldn't boss the midfield. Argentina was too strong in that midfield. I don't know if it's because of illness on the French side or what. But Griezmann's not going to play any defense. Rabiot he was on and off. Tuchemi looked fine, but they really didn't have any help in that midfield. Lionel Scaloni absolutely got his game plan spot on. So props to him on that. There's just so much about this game. I think the big thing that's overshadowed, Kylian Mbappe at the age of 23 has more World Cup final goals than anyone in the history of the sport. We talked about last week, and I recommend going back and listening to Pod After Dark from 2 weeks ago now, where we talked about Kylian Mbappe. Spent an hour talking about Kylian Mbappe. How much is he worth? What would you pay for him? And I think we settled on about $350. The dude's worth. The dude is the new GOAT. The torch has been passed with this match. But Messi's going to be gone from the international game. Ronaldo is very clearly gone. So who's there now? Now it's a guy who has 12 goals in World Cup play at the age of 23, 4 World Cup final goals, including a stunner of a volley today. Oh my gosh, it might have been goal of the tournament for me. But the thing that gets me most excited, and I hate Argentina. I've hated them for a long time. I think they play dirty. but this looks like a rivalry that's going to be building for the next 4 years going into the World Cup here in America. Argentina, you look at their squad, they're all in their mid-20s. And so they'll be, tail end of their prime come 2026. France, you look at just who they have coming up through the ranks. Tuchemi is still super young. Camavinga came off the bench. He's 19? Mbappe is 23. Like, oh man, France is going to be good still. And Parker, like you said, there's no guarantee that anybody reaches a World Cup final, but can you imagine a rematch of this in 2026? Be the third straight World Cup that these two teams have played against each other. And so far, both games have been crackers. I can only imagine what it's going to look like in 2026. So that's my takeaway from it. France lost, but thrilling game. And it's definitely one to look forward to as well as we enter a new World Cup cycle.
It's hard to argue against him scoring a hat trick in a World Cup final and still losing, right? Like, he did everything that he could. It was a world-class performance from, I think, both Messi and Mbappe. And that's what we wanted to see, right? When the lights are brightest, you want to see the stars shine. And I think that they did time and time again. So it was an extremely exciting final. Like I said, I wasn't really cheering for one or the other. Like, yeah, would it be cool to see France repeat? Yeah, but there are certain players on France that I don't like. There are certain players on Argentina that I don't like. It's, I'm not necessarily pulling for a team at that point. I'm pulling for players. And I think that's kind of where a lot of things might have been split for the broader audience. But it was just a great way to end the chaos that was the World Cup.
So one we're missing out on the big topic on this, and that's my bad.
Jorginho.
That's gonna be part of this next topic. Messi versus Ronaldo has been the argument for better part of the last 15 years. Who's the GOAT? And I don't know if the issue is solved today. A lot of people seem to think that this seals it for Messi, as he is the GOAT. He's the greatest of all time. He's better than Maradona, Pele, better than Ronaldo. What do you guys think? What do you guys think of Messi? Is he, as he kind of rides off into the sunset here on the international scene, is he the greatest of all time?
For me, he is. He's the best player I've ever seen. I know it's hard to compare eras and it's hard to compare stats looking back, and it's running debates forever for all sports, but he's pretty clearly the best player I've ever seen. And I think he does it in a lot of different ways. I don't love it, but I think he's a pretty good teammate, or at least he looks to be a pretty good teammate. He seems to bring his team to a different level kind of together. He plays really good balls and he finds his teammates in open space, and he seems like, the ultimate tactician and the ultimate weapon that you can kind of deploy at your arsenal. So I think Ronaldo is a bit more of a one-trick pony, and he's very, 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 very good at that trick. But Messi is just versatile, and but I'm with you, Collins. I don't think that this World Cup should sway too much of anyone's decision of had he not won today, it's Ronaldo, or it's, in the debates or whatever. This is one game, and I don't think both have had this insane illustrious career, where they've won pretty much everything else. And so I don't think the match settles it. But yeah, I've been team Messi for as long as I can remember. Just think he's a better all-around player.
Messi. I was actually just looking at a comparison of their stats. for as long as they've been playing. And like their goals speak for themselves. I'm more concerned with their assists. And Messi makes people around him better. And he does a lot of dirty work. And again, it looks like on screen. And I think it was Stu Holden that said it. Like, yeah, he's just going to kind of jog around or walk around for like 70 minutes. But as soon as he gets the ball, it's on. And he can take on whoever. He's not going to hit the deck. I mean, how many times do we see him go body to body with somebody and he doesn't hit the deck, where you look at somebody like Ronaldo who would, probably go flying. I just like his demeanor. I like the way that he plays. He understands the part of the game that I don't think Ronaldo does, which is you need to win, or you need the team to help you grow. Like, yes, he can do it all by himself if he really wanted to, but he understands that he needs his team to get better and make them better in order to kind of propel him up. He gets that concept. And that's a concept I don't think that Ronaldo gets. Granted, I mean, you can look at who have they played with on individual teams. Yeah, like you're looking at absolute legends that they've played with. Like there's no question about that. But it's the fact that, to me, Messi understands the team game more than Ronaldo. So to me, I give him the nod as far as the best between those two.
Yeah, I'm not even sure it's between those two. I'm still torn. They both have their flaws. Don't get me wrong, they're both great players. But I think honestly, it still has to be Pele, right? I mean, it's kind of like in the NBA, the Jordan versus LeBron comparison.
It shouldn't even be a comparison, but go ahead.
Well, where it's Parker, like you said, it's hard to judge different eras and all that. But I mean, you look at Pele and this is just goals that somebody happened to be writing down on individual day. This was when stats were tracked, but 655 goals and 700 club appearances. 77 goals in 92 appearances for the Brazilian national team. That's the GOAT right there. I'm sorry. And with Messi, Matt, you're going to enjoy this. Matt I don't know if he went away or what.
No, I'm still here.
All right. Matt, you'll enjoy this.
I'm just doing my hair.
Gotcha. My issue with Messi in this tournament, I can't speak to other tournaments. I don't watch a lot of La Liga. I don't, whatever. But all the talk about, this is Messi's tournament. Messi's taking this tournament by the horns, and he's making it his own. It's all about him. 4 out of his 7 goals were penalties in this World Cup. And you look at his World Cup goals over the course of his career, in all 4, he's got 13 World Cup goals, and 6 of them were penalties. Right. Matt, this is here it is.
Oh, you are teeing this up so good.
Messi is the Jorginho of international football.
I will argue that only because you're looking at the stats. Only because you're looking at specifically World Cup goals and things like that. If I remember correctly, at the time when you had the big 3 in the midfield for Barcelona, it was Xavi, Iniesta, and I don't think Messi was the other, but there was another. But like when you had them, I don't think, and I could be very wrong, but I don't think he was the one taking a lot of those penalties. Like, he's a very clinical finisher when he gets the chance. I think that's the biggest thing. if we're looking strictly at World Cup, yes, I understand your point completely, right? It's the same argument that I have against Jorginho when he led the team in goals that one year. Well, yeah, they were all penalties. What else does he do? And we're not going to get into that tonight, but if you look at Messi, he does so many other things that I think go unnoticed during the course of the game that everybody's so concerned with. Oh, well, did Messi score? If he gets the chance, he can definitely score, but he'll also see the opportunity for an assist to play a team member in and for them to get the goal. He is, for all the accolades that he has as an individual, I still think that he is a very team-centered individual. I think he is team first. He just happens to play with really good people and be one of the best players to ever grace the pitch. But he still has that mindset. And so, yeah, if we're looking at World Cup and all of his, or majority of his goals being penalties, fine. I can live with that. But that's all just stat. It's not including the dirty work that he does and all the other stuff. Like, you actually see him track back. Like, when he needs to, he will track back. And that was the biggest thing that they were talking about with Griezmann, right? He's playing in a different position, which I understand. We, as Chelsea fans, we definitely understand that. But he's all attack. He does not track back. And Messi will do all of that work if he needs to. Like, it's not above him to do that type of work. Where for Ronaldo, I think it would be. And I think right there is where you can define the difference between Messi and Ronaldo. Is Messi is team forward. Ronaldo is Ronaldo forward.
That's fair. Again, I don't watch a lot of La Liga. I can't speak to him at the club level. Just something I noticed during this tournament that just kind of rubbed me the wrong way every time a commentator would talk about it. In fact, I made a drinking game out of it for myself today.
Right. I mean, and it's a fair point. Like, I completely understand. Like, Jorginho would be, a legend if, Italy got a penalty, got one or two penalties every single game in a World Cup, right? Like, he'd be taking all of them. So he would probably be high up there on that list too. But, what else does he do? I think something like that it overshadows what he actually does as a player. And that's why I don't rely on World Cup stats to actually prove a player's worth when it comes to like goals and whatever, because obviously we all know he's going to take the penalty. Like, everybody and their mother knows that he's going to take the penalty. It's not a secret. He's their best player. And he is one of the greatest players of all time. So, yeah, it makes sense. Do I think that, his goals are, equal to like Miroslav Klose or anything like that, who scored most of his from open play? Not necessarily. But they're still goals, right? It still counts no matter how you slice it.
The one thing I'll comment quick on that I give both Messi and Mbappe a ton of credit for, that is super hard to do, is take multiple penalties in a game, and the mind games and the mental gymnastics that you face. Which way you went first time, how did it go, what are you going to do the second time? And then for Mbappe, how do you do it a third time? Because he took 2 penalties in open play and then had the PK shootout. But Messi had multiple. I mean, you saw what happened to Harry Kane. It's not as easy as it looks to take multiple, right? You step up to the spot, you convert, you do it again, you expect the same result, right? And it doesn't always happen. So props to Messi for being able to convert 2, and props to Mbappe for converting 3. And Mbappe
the same way every single time.
and there was two hands to those balls too. You know, he didn't perfectly slot them, right? But I think in his mind, he's like, if I do my job properly, it's going to be a goal, right? If I hit it hard and hit it where I want to hit it, it's going to be a goal. So I love that kind of mentality about, you know, taking pens. It is a mental game as much as it is physical and skill and technique.
And it is real easy for Argentina to get penalties. Where, to paraphrase what you said earlier, Parker, the wind blows and they fall down. So on that note, you know what we haven't done in a while? We haven't done man of the match and man of the get the fuck out of here.
Ooh.
So let's do a man of the tournament and a man of the get the fuck out of Qatar.
Okay.
So no nominees. We'll just kind of leave this user choice here. So anybody want to start?
I mean, I have some options for man of get the fuck out of here.
We'll start with man of the match. We'll start with the happy one.
Mason, right at the heart of that, man of the match. How good a Chelsea performance was it?
Yeah, I'm quite surprised I got man of the match, to be fair.
Because I think honestly, this one is not cut and dry, but I think there's only a few people that fit into this one. Mbappe has to be on the list, right? Messi has to be on the list. You could probably throw Giroud and Julian Alvarez on there. Anybody else from other teams that you guys want to throw into consideration?
I have to find his first name, but Amrabat from Morocco.
Okay. Or how about Livakovic, the keeper from Croatia?
Yes.
Also on the list.
I liked Amrabat more because I think he played almost every single minute. And he was all over the place. I think it was it the, who did they play in the, who did they play in the quarters?
Portugal.
Yeah. He was all over the place. Literally all over the place. Yeah. I thought that he was superb the entire tournament. He didn't blink an eye, anything like that. I thought he was absolutely fantastic. Again, you have your big names and stuff like that, but if we're talking about our big names, I think you have to go with Mbappe. You know, he showed out once again, like he does. A hat trick in a final, like it's really hard to argue against that. If we're looking at kind of an underrated, which we'll get to later, but I would say Amrabat would definitely be in that conversation.
The only one that we haven't talked about that I'll just kind of throw into the mix is Gardeval. Thought he had a pretty solid World Cup. I know that there was a lot of smoke around his name already, and I think, you know, the way I kind of look at it is, what have you done to like increase your stock or your price or the way people view you? And Amrabat went from a complete sort of no name to a guy who is on everyone's, you know, kind of like wish list or want list, or someone that you might want to talk about. And then Collins McAllister would be another one that people didn't really know much about, that now you know the name, right? Now you saw what he can do in a big situation. So I think those are fun guys to talk about. But like Matt, the Golden Boot winner was Mbappe. He had 8 goals. Some of them were penalties, sure. Messi had 7. I mean, between those two, it's a pretty clear like player of the tournament, right? Or short list for team of the tournament, kind of a discussion. So, but I like, you know, thinking about who improved their stock and who are people talking about now that they weren't as much before this.
See, I'm just gonna stick to. I'm not gonna reach on mine. I'm gonna go Mbappe. 8 goals, 2 assists in 6 starts. Man of the match in 3 of those games. and I know how much we all love Who Scored on this pod, but according to Who Scored, outside of the England match, he never scored below a 7-2, which is pretty damn impressive over what is in essence a very short tournament. So Mbappe is mine, but if we're going to talk other people, I've talked about it before. Alexis McAllister, I thought, anchored that Argentinian midfield, and they bossed today. He had an open opportunity that he should have converted, but overall, I would take him in a heartbeat. So, turning to man of the get the fuck out of Qatar, besides Alexi Lalas.
Shut your fucking mouth, you'll do nothing. You'll do fucking nothing. Not one of you will do nothing. Get the fuck out of here.
Who are we going for? Worst performance of the tournament or most hated performance of the tournament?
Oof. Worst performance of the tournament. As a player or as a team?
Open to interpretation.
Germany.
As our man of the get the fuck out of here polls usually are.
Yeah,
I would say Germany.
Huh?
The other one I would say would be Emi Martinez.
I like both of those.
Yeah. Those would be my top two.
Cristiano Ronaldo is mine. And it was happy for me to see how he went out and the style that he went out. And Messi has the opportunity to retire on top now. I don't know if he will or not, but he has the opportunity to bow out and have this be his last World Cup. I know he said he's going to keep kind of going, but like he can have the opportunity for this to be his last World Cup, right? He doesn't have to make that decision today. To see Ronaldo fall out of favor with his own team and have his replacement score goals and have him be left on the bench for big moments and come in and not get what he wants, kind of a thing, and throw temper tantrums as he's already left Manchester United. He walked away from Manchester United because he threw temper tantrums because he didn't play as much as he wanted to. To see this unfold, I mean, we talk about legacy and we talk about GOAT, and I was saving this point for this right now because I knew I was going to talk about this later. When you talk about legacy, I mean, this is part of his legacy. This is part of who he is. This is going to be remembered. How you go out is how you are remembered. I mean, we talk about basketball a lot, but like LeBron's second half of his career, or like the last third of his career, hasn't been as stellar as the first 2/3 of it were. Kobe went out on top, and like it's very different. And Jordan kind of went out on top and then came back and did a stint with the Wizards, and which was fine or whatever. But like how you're remembered is just that. It's how you are remembered. And I don't think people are going to forget about how Ronaldo has done this and how if he goes and plays in the Saudi league for hundreds of millions of dollars and fades away into the sunset, rich as hell, I don't know what that does for his legacy. And I'm very happy to see his legacy of the World Cup and the way he was my LVP.
I'm going to go off the board and go with Fox Sports. I was very unimpressed with the way that they handled much of the tournament. Some of the commentating groups were fantastic. Again, I love Ian Dark. We spent a while talking about this last week too. I love Ian Dark. Ali Wagner was fantastic. But John Strong and Taylor Twellman are great for MLS games. That's not who I want to hear calling a World Cup final. My dad said it perfectly during the U.S.
Or Stu Holden. I don't think Taylor was calling.
Oh, sorry.
Stu.
Yeah, you're right. Stu Holden. But in regards to John Strong, my dad said it perfectly when him and I were watching the England-US game. Keep in mind, my dad watches no soccer. He doesn't know the nuances that we do here. He goes, John Strong just sounds like he wants to call a goal at every given minute of the game. The voice is constantly raising and raising and raising and raising. And ever since he said that, I can't get that out of my mind. And that's all I hear. And it bothers me. But anyways, it's not Fox's strongest pair. I understand him wanting to have an American call the game and all that. It doesn't look good when Ian Dark's calling it and on on an American station, but could have done better there. The Chad Ochocinco stuff was garbage. I'm surprised they did that. And then to top it all off, today they send out a tweet as we head into extra time. Hey, if this game cuts into NFL time, we're changing the channel on this. Like, we're going with the NFL. Contracts aside, whatever, this is the most watched game in the world every 4 years. And you're going to bump it for, God, I don't even know who the game was here in Wisconsin, the noon game. Somebody bad.
It was, well,
Bears Eagles.
Bears Eagles. Yep.
Ooh, all right. So I'm very unimpressed. NBC does a great job. CBS does an okay job. ESPN does a great job. Bring one of them back. So Fox Sports, my man, to get the fuck out of here.
The only thing I'm going to fight you on is the fact that I read that tweet when you said that, and I think you might be mistaken. They said if the trophy ceremony cuts into NFL programming, that they would cut the trophy ceremony to move that to Fox Sports 1 or whatever. I don't think they would have cut the game. So that I read that, and it sort of contradicted that point.
That's on me. I had quite a few whiskeys at that point. So I believe you.
One other candidate that I think needs to be talked about, the officiating. And we hate talking about it, but some point it has to be said. Specifically, let's go to the third place game on Saturday. You have a Qatari official handling all of that. And guess what? He had not officiated a game since the group stage, early in the group stage. So he's basically been not doing anything for over a month, and you're going to have him take the third place game. And there were a lot of questionable decisions during that match. A lot. Now, that being said, I do understand and I do appreciate that for the most part, this World Cup, they let people play. Like, it wasn't every ticky-tack foul. It was like, no, get up, let's go. That I appreciate. And the reason I say that is because I saw during the Argentina-France match today, Tchouaméni, or it was either Tchouaméni or Kingsley Coman that got taken out, like full-blown taken out, got back up right away and wanted to start play immediately. Like, okay, that, you can look at it two ways. A, okay, it's a foul, you want to go. But if that would have been in the 10th, 15th minute, they would have been down on the ground for about 3 minutes trying to get treatment. I think that's the issue with football as a whole, but I'm going to just leave that one off to the side. I like the fact that they let people play. I did enjoy that for the most part. Like, it was relatively consistent from that regard, that, okay, nope, wasn't a foul, get up, there wasn't enough. But, and Collins, I know exactly what your comment's going to be. Then we go to today's match with the first penalty against Argentina, or against France, that gives a pen to Argentina. Was it exaggerated in the way that he went down? Yes. Was it a foul? Yes. I think he made it out to be worse than what it was. But then again, I go back to my previous situation, like, full blown, taking out legs, like, and then right away pop back up, and I want to get this game going. Like, it, at what point do you draw the line? And when you have officials from all over the world, and I understand, like, they're obviously you can't have an official, refereeing the match that is, biased towards a country. You can't have a German official refereeing a German match. I get that. To have a Qatari referee who hasn't officiated a match in a month take care of the third place game, which, yes, it's third place, but it still means a shit ton, especially when you look at the two countries that are involved. It means an absolute shit ton to each and every single one of those players, their fans, everybody watching back home. And you have some shit official doing it. Piss poor. That's the only way I can say it. Like, no. First place, second place, it should be based on rankings during their matches that they've had. This was not. This was, and unfortunately, I hate to say this, it took away from the match because there were two very good teams, two underdog teams fighting for everything, scrapping for everything. Morocco knocking off big dogs of teams. Croatia getting through on penalties multiple times. Livakovic coming up clutch so many times. It took away from that because now we have to go back to, oh, it's a Qatari ref. So they were probably paid off so that they could have somebody in that match. Like, it just defeats the entire purpose. Like, it detracts away from a very good match because you have that sitting in the back of your mind.
And Matt, I know that one thing that you always harp on in regards to refs, and for listeners, you can always go back and check most Pod After Darks. Neither Matt or I are complaining about the refs. You want consistency. And there wasn't a ton of it in this World Cup, whether it's going to check VAR, instances where you do check VAR versus when you don't. There seemed to be a kind of a disparity there. The amount of extra time given seemed to fluctuate from match to match. It'd be nice to have a little consistency. So I'll join you on that. I'll put refereeing as get the fuck out of here.
There's our 4. Let's run the poll.
All right, perfect. Yeah, you can always check those out after every Chelsea match. Just check us out on Twitter at FlagDownPod. But you know what I have noticed is very consistent? How great these beers are in the Mobcraft Advent calendars. We're on day number 18, and I've yet to find one that I don't like. And you know what else I found out? They're still available. Go to the tap room in Milwaukee, still there. And if you buy one now, you get a $10 Mobcraft gift card. Good for use in the tap room. Buy yourself a pint. Buy yourself some swag. Parker's wearing a sweatshirt today. It's the holiday season, and there's a lot of beer lovers I know in your life. And so this would be a perfect gift. 24 beers, new one every day. Go to the tap room in Milwaukee or in Denver, pick one up, have yourself a holly jolly Christmas.
Yeah, they're all fantastic beers. Like Colin said, I have yet to be disappointed. And, with the different styles they have, like their own collabs and, everything else that they have, absolutely wonderful.
How about that peanut butter stout?
So real quick story. So, that night, my wife and I made dinner, and she, as soon as she was done, she goes, I need you to get me a jar of peanut butter and the chocolate chips. That's going to be my dessert. I'm like, okay, fine. I'm going to go down and see what my beer is. Lo and behold, it's the peanut butter and chocolate stout. I said,
nothing better than this chocolate stout.
I said, you're having your dessert. I'm having mine.
We just gone to the store and bought some peanut brittle. I crack open the thing like, oh, a nice little pairing.
Very nice. I like it.
So again, please go to the tap room. Buy yourself an advent calendar. Start cracking them open. They're fantastic. Get yourself a gift card in the process. But now, oh boys, we gotta talk some Chelsea here. No more happy times. Maybe crack a few mob crafts before we talk here. The boys are back. Had a friendly match against Aston Villa in the Middle East last week, and now this upcoming weekend, Premier League season starts up again. We face Bournemouth, last game of 2022. I almost forgot what's even going on in the season. Are Bournemouth good? Are we good? Is Thomas Tuchel still there? I don't know. What do we foresee happening this weekend against Bournemouth?
I'm gonna be optimistic on this, and for two reasons. A, our injured players have had time to recover. They didn't go on international break, anything like that. I'm happy about that. B, I don't think we had any Chelsea injuries during the World Cup.
Knock on wood.
During the World Cup. World Cup's done. So you come out of it somewhat unscathed. Obviously, we know about the Raheem Sterling situation. And that's definitely more mental than it is physical, but maybe it's that's the only way that I look at it optimistically. Like, we didn't lose anybody to injury. Actually, third point, if we are going to be selling some of these players that have been rumored to be sold, a lot of their stock value went up during the World Cup. So it's good business on that front. But looking towards the game, flip a coin. At this point, who the fuck knows what's going to happen? And it's kind of the way that I look at everything when there even is like an international break and we come back against a team that doesn't have a strong international presence like we do. All these players are rested. Ours are not. Like, you look at Kova, he's definitely not rested, so he's not going to play. We're still, I think, waiting on RLC. Jorginho should be well rested. Conte, I think, is getting there, but not fully fit yet. Reece James is also getting there. Chills is getting there. It's good from a standpoint that they had time off to recover and that we didn't have to go through the season like that. And Mount should be ready to go. I mean, England got bounced per usual, so he should be okay. Raz, mentally, don't know where he's going to be. I don't know. There's just a lot of unknowns. Oh, sorry. Don't forget Kai. They got bounced pretty early, so he should be ready to go. But then you look at like Broya, his injury, he's out for the season. Aubameyang should be good to go. I think he went to training in Abu Dhabi. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting, but I am concerned with the fact that we do have a lot of people gone on international break / the World Cup that are coming back and trying to train when we've had a decent amount of people training and recovering during that time.
But while they were training, one of the things I did enjoy seeing was that our youth team has had the ability to step up and go to that Abu Dhabi training session and get more first team reps and minutes. So I'm excited for that. I'm excited to see how that kind of translates into the rest of the season. I'm not writing the season off, but it's also we're not contending for the title right now. So it is a bit of a chance to roll the dice a little bit more and play people who you think have a shot of, starting next year. And so I'm excited to see how that all pans out. And Collins, you said it or alluded to it earlier with, is Tuchel still here? It's like, no, this is Graham Potter's team. And it feels like ages since we've talked about Graham Potter, but Potter has had the ability to kind of take a step back and just kind of manage with the team the guys that he's been with and gel with those guys. And then as people trickle back into training, had a chance to develop rapport with them. So there's still a lot of pressure on him. Obviously, it's Chelsea, and there's always going to be pressure on a new manager. But Potter has this unique ability now to have a really good working chance to get, I honestly think like the biggest relationship is Jorginho and Potter, because Jorginho is one of your captains on the field. So is Azpilicueta, and those are, guys that you can develop pretty deep relationships with, and especially because Jorginho didn't go to the World Cup, you just kind of develop that rapport and figure things out a little bit. So I'm intrigued to see how it all kind of plays out. Matt, you talked about coming off of international break. I have flashbacks to what happened after AFCON last year, and it's hard to come off of break where you have a mix of players playing at different levels and abilities and whatnot. So my guess is Bournemouth will come at us a lot more rested and cohesive as a unit than we will. But it's going to be a really kind of telling couple of weeks, not just one game, but a couple of weeks of who this team is. And I talked about a couple of weeks ago, but I don't really know what our identity is as a team. I don't know who we are yet. And I'm excited to still figure that out. I think there's a team in there somewhere. I just don't know what it looks like or how it plays yet. But we'll see if like the likes of Christian Pulisic or Hakim Ziyech, after having such stellar performances, will they get sold at a high value, to your point, Matt, or will they find their way into the team and be able to kind of have a resurgence or second life at Chelsea? Who knows? Tune in next week to see, right?
I think this is the perfect match to come back to, is Bournemouth. They've lost 4 of their last 5. They've conceded the most goals out of any team in the Premier League this year. Have the third worst goal differential in the entire league, giving up a little over 2 goals a game. And that's something we struggle to do, is score goals. So, if anything, this could be a nice little confidence booster. I don't see anybody who's in the knockout stages, maybe minimally playing in this game against Bournemouth. I think a lot of those guys are going to be given rest. But I think the differences between this and a normal international break is that normal international break is about 10 days, and you've got guys flying all across the world and, playing various levels of competition. This was a straight month and a half off. So Bournemouth has been training at home. I just looked at their roster. They don't have any internationals who played in the World Cup. So they've been there training against themselves, presumably some friendlies against lower division sides or their own youth team. Whereas our guys have been going in top matches for the better part of a month. So our guys are going to look mid-season. Bournemouth may look a little creaky to start this match. So I'm excited for it, but I think the thing I'm most excited for, I got to watch the match in Abu Dhabi. Omari Hutchinson looks like a baller. Thank you, Arsenal. What a signing he's going to be. And if he doesn't play in this one, if he didn't catch Potter's eye, I would be shocked. I think Hutchinson's going to ball out if he plays against Bournemouth. I expect a goal.
Yeah. Don't know if I can agree with that. Not Omari Hutchinson. No, from everything that I saw and read about, he definitely looks like an absolute stud. It's Chelsea in December. We know how that goes. Again, we know how that goes. We've been there before. We are the better team on paper. And I even called it last December. We don't do well in December. Granted, we have a much more hectic schedule, than this year, but still, I'm hoping for the best. I am cautiously optimistic as we go forward in this match against Bournemouth. But again, Bournemouth has been able to train their entire team together, right? They've been able to do all of that while half of our team has been away playing, in Collins, to your point, against the best of the best, right? Like, it's a World Cup. I mean, Mason Mount looked like dog shit. Thiago Silva was playing almost every game for Brazil because he needed to be there, and he's older. Like, you also have these people, yes, they were knocked out earlier than the final or anything like that, but there's still travel. I mean, I thought Kova had a great World Cup. He didn't get on the score sheet or anything like that, but he doesn't for Chelsea, and we don't expect him to do that. He's the dirty work type player. Like, I'm just very hesitant about saying that, you know, we would blow them out. I think that we might squeak out a win. And the fact that, yeah, they've lost, you know, 4 of their last 5, they have the 3rd biggest point differential in the league. Guess what? That doesn't mean shit if you can't score. And that's been the problem. It doesn't matter who you're going up against. We can't score. And I'm hoping that things will change, but I'm just trying to level set expectations about how I anticipate this match coming ahead.
See, Matt, I think we already had our Chelsea December, though. I think we had it in November. We lost, let's see, 1, 2, 3 out of our 4 matches in November. And if you go back to October 29th, we've lost 4 out of our last 5. I think we've...
Same as Bournemouth, right?
No. 4-1 to Brighton, lost to Arsenal, lost to City, lost to Newcastle.
I'm saying Bournemouth has lost 4 out of their last 5, correct?
Oh, yeah.
So on that regard, we're in a level playing field.
Yeah. All I'm saying is I think we already had our December. I think we're good. We're going to come out cruising here.
I hope that's the case.
All right. Well, boys, that does push us up against the hour here. In fact, probably a little past it. So, Matt, any closing thoughts from you?
Not a ton. Great World Cup. You know, the whole Qatar thing was luckily pushed to the back burner of what was, and Collins, I'm sorry to steal your thunder, but there's a storm brewing. You know, you love the chaos. That's what took over, is that entire thing. Saudi beating Argentina for like first game, like everything like that. And there was so much taken away from everything that went on with Qatar getting the bid and the stadiums being built and all that other shit. It was a great World Cup, one that I'm sure all of us are never going to forget. And, you know, looking forward to seeing what happens with Chelsea as we come out of this.
Parker, how about you?
So, Collins, you joked when we first got on today about we got to go back to talking about Chelsea, and you know, I'm not ready for this World Cup to end, you know, because it's been a decent break, right? This is our first time podcasting through a World Cup, so it's been a nice change of pace, right? But for me, there's not the same level of care and emotions personally when I watch a World Cup, because I'm not as invested. Even when I'm watching the US play, I'm not as invested as when I watch Chelsea. And, you know, my day gets ruined when the Blues lose, and like we have to like kind of recoup our thoughts. We've been through a lot in the last 2 years, managers and Roman and all the stuff that's happened, right? Those are like real emotions that I feel that are now on this podcast that get talked about, right, with you guys. I don't have that same level of care with the World Cup. I'm ready for my team to come back, even though it hasn't been the best of years. We are not on top of the league, and so that sucks. But I'd rather take my team week in, week out, and on that sort of level, consistent basis and figure out what the hell we're doing. And if we're not on top, what are we going to do to figure out how to be on top? Because we've got a new manager, we got a new ownership, and they're going to want to be on top. So I'm excited to see how we figure out that puzzle of how do we get to be on top.
I like it. I like both. So before we cheers to all that, let me pay some bills here. If you've enjoyed what you watched today on Twitch, give us a follow there. We're going to be here most Sundays, 8:30 p.m. Central Time. Probably not next Sunday with Christmas coming up. But if you are busy on Sundays or we don't release it on Sundays, you can always check out the podcast. You can always check it out on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your podcasts. I always ask that you subscribe, rate, and review the podcast. We did get a new review this week, so thank you for that 5-star review. You can do that at any time. It takes about 30 seconds. Social media, you can follow us there. The pod is available at FlagDownPod on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. You can follow me, Andy. I'm at Comiskey North. You can follow Parker at DJ Parkour, and Matt is at Matus Lee, all on Twitter. If you have any questions, comments, or anything you want us to address on air, we're always happy to read what you got. Just shoot us a DM on social media, or like I said, come join us live Sundays on Twitch. So, boys, that's all I've got. Let's cheers to a great World Cup of chaos and hopefully great new-ish beginnings at Chelsea. Cheers.
Cheers. I'm all potted out.